Hello, commentary. Thursday, March the 31st. My name's Eric Wilkinson. Some of you may recognize me as the Wolfman from CNBC, Fox Business, or even the Wall Street Journal, where I've commented on everything from economic to geopolitical and market analysis. Please keep in mind that everything that we talk about in these market commentaries is not a solicitation to buy or sell any of these securities or strategies. At the end of the day, we're here to teach you some different strategies that you can implement into your own portfolios, but please do that in your own way. The reason why I can't give you a recommendation on a particular stock or strategy is because I don't know your risk parameters. I don't know what's in your portfolios. Therefore, what I'm doing could be counterintuitive to what you are already doing. Having that out of the way, we do have a lot of economic data to kind of run over. I'm going to try and do it as quickly as possible. Over across the pond in Germany, we had retail sales come in at negative 0.4%, was expected to be a positive 0.3%, so a little bit of a bummer there. Preliminary CPI, Consumer Price Index, came in slightly higher than expected in France, 0.7 versus 0.5, so really still not a lot of inflation seen there. Also, Spanish CPI came in, but it was lower than expected at negative 0.8% versus a positive 0.6%. So a little bit of off balance there. German unemployment was okay. Final GDP for the European Union came in at 0.6% versus 0.5%. We also had core CPI, which was the index for consumer price index, come in at 1% versus 0.9%, so nothing really there. A lot of these numbers are coming in line with expectations, other than Chicago PMI came in at 53.6%, was expected 50.6. So that is the Purchasing Managers Index, which shows that purchasing managers are starting to look forward to buying the raw goods to produce or manufacture their products. So that was a bit of a limelight. Anything above 50 shows expansion in the that sector there. Later on today we have Dudley speaking, and then tonight we also have the Chinese manufacturing PMI, which is Purchasing Managers Index. That could be a big one. That's not until late tonight, so it could affect tomorrow's open. So keep your eyes out for that. Moving on to the overall markets, we're really having an inside day. I'll talk a little bit more about how that is an inside day, despite the fact that we're up 10 points here in the NASDAQ, as you can see, /NQ. Onto the E-mini S&Ps, just treading above water, up about 3.5 points today. But this is what I'm talking about on an inside day. As you can see, the chart here, the value area it just basically moved below that, but for the most part, the value areas are within yesterday's range. Point of control right there in line, which is where the most time and volume has been spent today, is right in line with where we were yesterday. As you can see, we're up against the resistance of the value area high here. So we'll have to see. If this settles below here, then that could look like a little bit of a bearish move. With this small, tight of a range, I wouldn't expect to be trading that intraday, just because it's just such a tight range. There's no, the risk is outweighing the reward on something like that. The only thing that I've really done today is in Johnson & Johnson. Now, we did a earnings setup calendar spread in Johnson & Johnson, which is ticker symbol JNJ, and I did a webinar on this not too long ago. Well, some of these front months that we shorted in order to finance our longer duration calls and puts are coming into line. So with Johnson & Johnson, I had on the April monthly 110 call calendar. So I was short the April 1 weeklies and then long the April monthlies on the 110 calls. So what happened was, since we've seen a bit of a pullback in here, those April 1 weeklies basically decayed to zero for all intents and purposes. They're worth 2 pennies is where I got out. I originally paid or I originally sold them for 22 cents and bought them back for 2 cents. So the risk going into tomorrow isn't worth it for 2 pennies. You know, that could explode if we rally up, and that could inflate. So I decided to take those off, leave on my April monthlies, which is the April 110 calls that I'm long, that I am going to go into that earnings trade or earnings binary event with those. So as volatility expands, I'm hoping to see those 110 calls that I'm long inflate in value. Now, we talked about this in the webinar also. So when we're doing these earnings trade setups, I'm short the April 110 calls. We want to see a bit of a pullback so that those April 110 calls that I'm short decay to zero, which is exactly what we've seen here. Now, of course, I would like to see this trend continue, which it's still in line to continue to the upside, so that my April monthlies that I'm long will increase in value over time going into that event. So we'll have to see how that works out. But right now I've got those April 110 calls that I'm long on for about 45 cents, which originally would have cost me about 65 cents. So I've been able to finance a bit of that trade to make it a little bit less expensive to be long those calls. So if you want to find out more about how to build out that strategy, you can go to protraderstrategies.com. That is for the earnings setups, and I've got several of those on that are working out quite nicely. This one was just getting ready to go off the board tomorrow, so I just didn't want to take that risk into the final day. So that's why I took that one off for a couple of pennies. Friday's webinar is going to be on short call spreads. So we're going to be talking about, you can sell these short call spreads even in a trending up market. As long as it's trending up nicely, kind of like JNJ, we'd be able to even sell a call spread against maybe some of our portfolio if we were along JNJ or something along those lines, where we can finance or at least lower our cost basis on our stock. This also can be set up as just a trade, and we're going to be talking about all of the rules as to how to set that trade up tomorrow. You can go to protraderstrategies.com and sign up for that. It's going to be on at 4:15 Eastern, so hopefully you guys can make it out for that. We've been having a lot of give and take back and forth with some of the participants in that webinar. Students are finding a lot of good information out of it, and that's all I got for you guys today. Other than, if you can't take that, take it easy.